Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bookercast, the podcast where books come to life.
And I'm so excited to dive into another amazing story with all of you.
Whether you're a bookworm or just love a good story, this is the place for you.
Every episode, we explore incredible books, talk about their stories and characters, and share insights that'll make you fall in love with reading all over again.
All right, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Get comfortable, and let's jump right into it.
Sounds good.
Welcome to the deep dive. This time, we're tackling a really fascinating book, John M. Allegro's The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. You guys have really thrown us a curveball with this one. Get ready to explore some pretty unexpected connections between religion, language, and the world of ancient fungi.
Yeah, Allegro's book, it's definitely a head scratcher. He's got this bold idea that that ancient religions, even those that kind of became Judaism and Christianity, were really influenced by Sumerian fertility cults and their use of, psychoactive substances, specifically the Amanita muscaria, the mushroom.
So we're talking ancient history, secret societies, psychedelic mushrooms. This is going to be good. What exactly is Allegro? What's his argument here?
Well, he starts with Sumerian, right? The oldest written language that we know of. And Allegro thinks it's the key to unlocking this hidden meaning in religious terms and symbols. By tracing words back to their Sumerian roots, he says he can reveal, a connection to these ancient fertility cults. And you guessed it, mushrooms.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. Give me an example. How does he connect Sumerian words to mushrooms and religion?
Okay, so let's take the word God. Allegro says, argues that the Sumerian word for God is really similar to their word for mushroom. And he sees this as evidence that the very concept of God might have come from early experiences with these mind-altering fungi.
Whoa. That's a pretty radical idea. So he's suggesting that the very foundation of religious belief could be traced back to these ancient mushroom rituals.
That's exactly what he's saying. He goes on to analyze other words like sin, grace, even names of gods like Zeus, Yahweh, claiming that that they all have hidden meanings related to, mushrooms, fertility cults, the whole nine yards.
So he's saying there's this secret language, this code, hidden in ancient texts, and it points to this widespread mushroom cult. How did he even come up with this theory? It seems like a pretty big leap.
It's definitely it's a bold theory. Allegro was a scholar of ancient languages and cultures, spent years studying Sumerian texts. He became convinced that there was more to these stories, these ancient stories and symbols than people thought. And he saw this Amanita muscaria mushroom as a central figure in this hidden world.
All right, let's talk about this mushroom, this Amanita muscaria. What was it about it that made it so special to these ancient cultures? Was it just the psychedelic effects?
Well, the psychoactive properties were definitely a factor. Allegro suggests that that these early cultures saw altered states of consciousness as as a way to connect with the divine. But there's more to it than that. He says that the mushroom's appearance, how it looks, played a really big role in its symbolism.
I've seen pictures of it. It's that bright red one with the white spots, right? What's so symbolic about that?
Well, think about how it grows. It emerges from this white egg-like sac called a vulva. And Allegro, he saw that as a symbol of birth or creation. Then there's the shape of the stem. It's kind of phallic, right? And that was, a symbol of male fertility. And then the red cap with the white spots reminded people of the heavens, the stars.
So they saw the mushroom as this powerful symbol of creation, fertility, and even the cosmos. That's pretty amazing. But how does this tie back to religion specifically?
Allegro believed that the Amanita muscaria, it wasn't just a symbol. It was the divine itself, the embodiment of the divine. He saw it as the source of life-giving power, the connection between earth and the heavens. And he argued that this whole belief system, it formed the basis for lots of the world's major religions.
Hold on, he's saying that religions like Christianity and Judaism, they have their roots in a mushroom cult? That seems like a big stretch.
It's a controversial claim for sure, and one that's been met with, with a lot of skepticism from mainstream scholars. But Allegro, he was convinced that
Yeah.
he had uncovered this hidden truth, a secret history that had been, suppressed for centuries.
Okay, I'm definitely hooked now. Let's dive into some of the specific examples he uses to support his theory. What are some of the biblical stories or figures that he connects to the mushroom?
One of the most striking examples is his take on the Garden of Eden story. Allegro thinks that the forbidden fruit, it wasn't an apple, it was the Amanita muscaria mushroom.
Whoa, that's a really different way to look at that story. So he's saying that Adam and Eve's expulsion from paradise was actually about the consequences of consuming this sacred mushroom.
Exactly. Allegro saw the story as like, a metaphor for humanity's expulsion from a state of innocence and divine connection, which was represented by the mushroom. He even argued that the serpent in the garden, the one that's, often seen as like a symbol of temptation, that it
Right.
actually represented the mushroom itself, offering, its knowledge and power.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown. This is getting really deep. So if Allegro's right, are we saying that that the foundation of Christianity, which is built on the idea of sin and redemption, is actually all about a psychedelic mushroom?
That's a question that, continues to spark debate and controversy even today. Allegro's work really challenged a lot of long-held beliefs about the origins of religion and the nature of the divine, whether you agree with his conclusions or not. His book makes us confront some big questions, about the nature of belief, the power of symbolism, the hidden history of human consciousness.
This is definitely one of the most thought-provoking deep dives we've done yet. You've given me a lot to think about. Where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, we've only scratched the surface of Allegro's theory. He goes on to analyze, a whole bunch of biblical stories and figures, connecting them to the mushroom and its symbolism. He even looks at the names of biblical characters, and he says they contain like hidden clues to the mushroom cult.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Tell me more. What other secrets did Allegro uncover in the Bible?
Well, one figure that really jumps out is Judas Iscariot. Allegro, he looks at his name and says it's like a coded reference to the Amanita muscaria. He even suggests that Judas's betrayal of Jesus could be tied to like a symbolic rejection of the mushroom cult.
Wait, so even the villain of the story has a mushroom connection? That's wild. Is he saying Judas was like a disgruntled former member of the mushroom cult?
Yeah. That's one way to look at it. Allegro's interpretations, they often, challenge our traditional understanding of these figures. He sees them not just as individuals, but as symbolic representations of different aspects of the mushroom and its role in ancient religious practices.
So it's like he's like deciphering a secret code hidden within the Bible. But if this mushroom cult was so widespread,
Yeah.
how did they keep it a secret? Especially with the rise of Christianity.
That's a key question. Allegro suggests that early Christians, facing persecution, they had to be clever about how they, preserved their beliefs. So they used, symbolism and coded language to hide their practices,
Yeah.
right in plain sight.
So it's like a secret society within a secret society. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. What kind of symbols or code words did they use? We talked about God earlier, but what else?
Allegro points to, various examples. He suggests that terms like, bread and wine, which are central to Christian rituals, they might have actually started as references to the mushroom. He even argues that phrases like, the kingdom of God could be interpreted as metaphors for those altered states of consciousness,
Yeah.
induced by the Amanita muscaria.
So he's suggesting that the entire language of Christianity is like infused with this hidden mushroom symbolism. I'm starting to see the Bible in a whole new light.
Yeah.
But isn't it a bit of a stretch to say that like every reference to bread or wine is actually about a mushroom? How do we know he's not just seeing what he wants to see.
That's a valid point. Allegra's work is incredibly detailed, but it's also it's also highly speculative. Not everybody agrees with his interpretations, and a lot of scholars criticize his methods, for being too selective and not having enough, hard evidence.
So it's more of a thought-provoking theory than a proven fact. But
Yeah.
but even if he's not totally accurate, it's still a fascinating way to look at the Bible, right?
Absolutely. Allegro's work, whether you agree with it or not, it makes us think critically about where our beliefs come from. He's not just offering these alternative interpretations. He's pushing us to question assumptions and to
Yeah.
to explore the possibility that, there's more to these ancient texts than we see at first glance.
This deep dive has definitely opened my mind to new possibilities. It makes you wonder what other secrets might be hidden within the language and the symbolism of different cultures, different religions.
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting about Allegro's work. He's not just trying to decode the Bible. He's inviting us to explore the hidden depths of human history and consciousness. He's encouraging us to look beyond the surface and consider the role that altered states of consciousness, ritual practices, symbolism they might have played in shaping how we understand the world and the divine.
This all ties back to what we were talking about earlier about the importance of altered states of consciousness in ancient religious practices, right? They weren't just worshiping a mushroom. They were trying to connect with something bigger than themselves through this unique and powerful experience.
Exactly. Allegro saw the Amanita Muscaria as like a bridge between the human and the divine, a way to get to a realm of knowledge and experience that was otherwise hidden from view.
It's like they were using the mushroom to tap into a different level of reality, a dimension of consciousness that we might not even fully understand today.
And that's what makes this topic so fascinating. It forces us to confront the limits of our own understanding and to acknowledge that there might be more to the world than we can see or explain through our current scientific paradigms.
I'm beginning to understand why Allegro's work has been so controversial. He's not just offering a new interpretation of the Bible. He's challenging our entire worldview.
He's making us ask some really big questions, like where do our beliefs come from? What's the nature of consciousness, and how has the human relationship with altered states of consciousness shaped the course of history of religion.
This deep dive has been like a journey into the heart of a mystery. And I have a feeling we're only just getting started. We still need to explore the validity of Allegro's claims and the impact his work has had on our understanding of history and religion.
And we should also think about the ethical implications of his work too. I mean, we are talking about the use of psychoactive substances, and that's a topic that deserves careful consideration.
Absolutely. But before we wrap up, I'm curious to know what has been the response to Allegro's work, within the academic community. Did he find any supporters for his theories, or was he just completely dismissed?
Well, Allegro's book was definitely a bombshell when it was first published. It caused quite a stir,
Yep.
It really shook things up.
So what was the reaction from other scholars? Were they on board with his ideas, or
Not exactly. To put it mildly, the academic world, it wasn't quite ready for Allegro's radical reinterpretation of the Bible. His book, I mean, it was hit with a ton of criticism.
so it was like a total rejection? Or were there any scholars that kind of found something valuable in his ideas?
There were a few who were kind of intrigued by his approach, particularly his focus on Sumerian linguistics and the idea that there could be symbolism within ancient texts. However, the vast majority of scholars, they dismissed his theories, said they were far-fetched, and that he didn't have enough solid evidence.
What were their main criticisms? Was it just his focus on mushrooms that they had a problem with, or were there other issues with his, like, his methodology, how he did his research?
Well, the mushroom theory, it was definitely a major sticking point. A lot of scholars felt like Allegro was kind of, reaching,
Yeah.
seeing connections where there weren't any. They also they questioned his heavy reliance on linguistic analysis. They argued that, that language is fluid, right? And open to interpretation.
So they felt like he was kind of picking and choosing evidence to fit his theory, instead of approaching the research with an open mind.
And that was a pretty common critique. Critics also pointed out that that Allegro's understanding of Sumerian, culture and religion, it wasn't really complete, and that he often ignored evidence that kind of contradicted his claim.
It sounds like his work, while it was groundbreaking in its scope, how big it was, and its ambition, it was ultimately flawed, like
Yeah.
how we went about it.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment. But even Allegro's biggest, critics, they admitted that his book, it brought up some important questions about the origins of religious beliefs and the role of symbolism and altered states of consciousness and in shaping, human culture.
So even if his conclusions weren't widely accepted, he still kind of got people talking.
Well,
Challenged the way things were, and made people think differently about the past.
exactly, and that in itself is a big deal, right? Allegro, he forced scholars to look again at their assumptions, to consider different perspectives, and to
Yeah.
to really look closely, critically at religious texts and historical events.
This kind of brings us back to the ethical implications we were talking about earlier. Even if Allegro's interpretations of the Bible aren't totally accurate, his work really highlights the power that psychoactive substances can have in shaping belief systems and spiritual experiences.
Absolutely, and it raises some big questions about how we use these substances responsibly, and the dangers of misinterpreting or exploiting their effects. I mean, we have to remember that altered states of consciousness, while they can be, transformative, they can also be, disorienting and even harmful if they're not approached, with caution and respect.
It's a reminder that knowledge is kind of a double-edged sword. It could be used for good or for bad, and it's up to us to use it wisely.
Allegro's work, even with its flaws, it's kind of a cautionary tale. It reminds us to be critical thinkers, to question our assumptions, and to be careful of people who say they have all the answers, especially when it comes to something as complex and as multifaceted as religion.
So where does this leave us? What are the key takeaways from our deep dive into the sacred mushroom, the cross?
I think the most important takeaway is that history, it's not some fixed, set in stone thing. It's a conversation, it's a process of interpretation and reinterpretation. Allegro, despite his controversial methods, he reminded us that there are always new perspectives to consider, new stories to uncover, and new ways of understanding the past.
He also showed us that the origins of our beliefs, even those that seem the most sacred and unquestionable, they're often shrouded in mystery and open to debate.
And maybe that's the beauty of it, right? The search for understanding. It's a never-ending journey, full of twists and turns and unexpected discoveries. Allegro's work, even with its flaws, it's a reminder to embrace the mystery, to question the dogma, and to never stop searching for the truth wherever it might lead.
That's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this fascinating and mind-bending exploration of the sacred mushroom and the cross. What stood out to you in this deep dive? What questions are you left with? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep those minds curious and those deep dives coming.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of BookerCast. We hope you enjoyed diving into it as much as we did. Thank you so much for spending your time with us. Your support means the world, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts on this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. And let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing from you. See you in the next deep dive. Bye for now, and happy reading.